time is now 9 a.m. Quorum being present, we'll call this meeting of the Transportation Policy Board to order. Go ahead and stand. Recite the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you all so much. I guess we'll start open comment.
Public comment, we have Mr. Jose Landeros.
All right. Mr. Landeros.
Good morning, Chair members. Jose Landeros with the County of El Paso. Wanted to just formally announce and take this opportunity during public comment to remind the members and the public that the county is hosting a series of community meetings next week for our countywide regional transit study. It's an MPO-funded project that is exploring the possibility of seamless county transit service throughout the County of El Paso and into the greater region in the future. And so we are soliciting input not only from technical stakeholders but also the community, and we'll have 4 meetings scheduled next week. Next Wednesday, the first meeting will be in Fabens. Thursday, the meeting will be at the county's Northwest Annex in Vinton. And then on Saturday, we have a meeting scheduled Saturday morning in Socorro. And then Saturday afternoon at the Sheriff's headquarters off of Justice Road near the jail annex. And that'll be the 4th meeting. This is the first round of meetings. There'll be another round of community meetings in the future. But input is obviously greatly welcome from agencies as well as community members. So we asked that the MPO forward this to all the members. So if there are any constituent groups, community organizations, or even within your own agency, if you would be so kind as to share this information, the more input that we have, the greater success the study will be.
Thank you, Mr. Landeros.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions on any of that? No? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We move to discussion and action.
Discussion action for item number 1, and it's discussion action to approve recommendations from the Transportation Project Advisory Committee to approve to amend the amended Horizon 2040 Metropolitan Transportation Plan and the Horizon 2017-2020 Transportation Improvement Program for A, program the El Paso County Mission Circular Project MPOID number T508X for transit service to Socorro, Isleta, and San Elizario using $1,123,200 of Category 5 Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality CMAQ funds in fiscal year 2017 for the El Paso County, and B, program the El Paso County Vanpool Program fiscal year 2017 project, MPOID number T094X for region-wide transit service using $1,800,000 of Category 5 CMAQ funds in fiscal year 2017.
All right.
Good morning, Greg McNichol with the TPAC Chairman. These are 2 good projects. There's a little bit of year-end money in 2017. These are projects that need to be shovel-ready, and so we recommend them for your approval. I will mention, too, that I know the county did a very good job of renegotiating a contract related to the Vanpool that was successful at returning money back to the region so that we could expand the programs in the future, and this is what we're trying to do now.
All right. Fantastic. Do we have any?
Just real quick.
Sorry, Dr. No. Oh, Mr. Bonacci.
Yes, sir. These are great projects, by the way, and it's good we're getting more van pools and that good thing. The only question I have is just what was the process of? I thought normally we would do call projects if there's additional monies available, and I was wondering why there wasn't a call-up projects for these, because that's typically what I know we've done in the past.
Well, there was a call for projects for CMAQ money. It actually happened way back in February of 16, and they went through a ranking process, and based on what the funds that we saw available, awards were made, and that action took place by the TPAC and by the TPB in October, of 16. Is when the 3 projects in 2017 got added based on projections. And those are just that, they're just projections. And we really don't have a formal process when there's kind of year-end money that have to address shovel-ready projects that can go forward. The county was good. They had a good project. They worked with the MPO as the MPO would work with any of us that might have a project that, to see how they can get it funded. So I would tell you that's something we may want to, both organizations look at. You know, we answer to y'all, of course, but look at how we might address projects like this in the future.
So were these projects didn't make the cut for
They
the
actually weren't.
CIP in 17 to begin with?
No, they actually were not in the call in that February call.
Okay. So these were just added. Well, so then how did that process happen where these projects were given to the MPO for additional money or additional reconciled money, I take is what this came from?
Okay, I'll be honest with you, I may want to defer to the county because the county, I know though that the county reached out to the MPO looking for ways to expand the van pool program, just to pick one of them, because of the success they've had there. And then from that, they were identified that it does look and does appear there will be some free balances that we didn't foresee in the CMAQ funds. And so that you could go ahead and put a project request form in and file that. And that's what they did.
So then, okay, so then I guess we just need to, throughout the course of the year, just be ready for call MPO up and say, is there any additional money so we can maybe get an additional project?
Right, I guess, Mr. Chair, if I may. is
Sure.
that- Yes, absolutely.
So remember, one of the things that we do is attempt to coordinate with all the agencies. This is not the first time this happens. Back in August or September of last year, TxDOT approached us with solicitation for funding for several projects. And this body, the last time they met, made two actions. They approved an amendment for capacity projects and non-added capacity projects. So at that time, the solicitation came from TxDOT. So we didn't have a formal call for projects, but there was money on the table, if you will, and TxDOT asked for the money. We went through the process of informing TPAC, and then ultimately the policy board took that action. So this is not a new process.
Yeah, I guess along those lines, I mean, I agree, I mean, these are great projects, I don't think, I mean, they really are great projects, but I think is just in terms of, I mean, these projects in terms of were they left over in terms of how they were ranked back when they had the call for projects for the CMAQ? And then as money has become available, you're going down in terms of the ranking? Or, I guess it's just from the city side, and not just the city, but every other entity, you know, do we have to just keep in touch? I mean, or, I mean, how do we know, is this just, how do we go about, like, getting, you know, in terms of that funding as well?
Right,
And
so-
these are great projects, we're not.
Yeah, and I don't think the question
It's
is,
just, is it based on the funding, when there was a call for project this CMAQ, and then as funding becomes available, you just go back in terms of how they were ranked at the time? Or-
So when you all approve projects, there is no direction after you take that action to have a needs-based plan.
There's no direction to what?
There's no direct action after I can rephrase that, is that when you all approve projects, the MPO is not directed to maintain those projects as a needs base. Now, so what happens is that when there's balances available, in this example, when TxDOT approached us, and of course, the county, and then of course, New Mexico DOT, is that we don't go back to rank, because we've already had a call per se. And then the action is to examine what the merit of the project is and then move forward with the process. It's also my understanding that every month, the MPO and TxDOT and agencies meet to discuss any potential projects that they need. So at that coordination meeting is the prime avenue to have that discussion. And that's how TxDOT, you know, approached us. And of course, this is how the county as well approached us.
Dr. Neff, or, I'm sorry, did you have more questions?
No, I'm still a little confused.
And I think a lot of us are, but my question is, and we're all going to support this, I'm sure, because they are such good projects. It was the process I think there's a question about. But my question is, and this I'll direct it to TxDOT and I guess to you as well. And just curiosity, when we're doing this with CMAQ funds, does the government, does the feds or anybody require any benchmark riderships afterwards to show that we are mitigating and not adding? Now, the van pool, I think, has been real successful, right? But the other one is a new project. We haven't done this yet. Do we have to meet certain benchmarks? Or is it, it's in place right now? Okay, and the ridership on that is excellent. I don't know either.
I guess let me address that, is that the
Is there,
federal.
are there benchmarks that we have to meet to show that we are mitigating congestion?
It depends on the functionality of the project,
Uh-huh.
but what the federal government requires is a reporting mechanism back to the MPO. And with that is that in the contract that is signed with TxDOT or New Mexico Dot, whoever it is that monthly reports are given to the MPO or the sponsoring agency. So like in this example, if it's the ride share, it goes to the county. If we have anything else, it goes to that sponsoring agency. But the ultimate thing that the federal government is looking at is that after the project is finished, after the 3 years, there has to be an analysis from the sponsoring agency to the MPO to examine the success of that project via one of the planning documents, which is the congestion management process. So in terms of a milestone, that's the ultimate requirement.
Okay.
And just for the FTA projects, we report quarterly to FTA on those projects. And so, and we set the milestones with FTA, because once that money moves to FTA, then it's an FTA project. And there are guidelines that we follow. And same thing with the rural counties. Any rural properties in the county, they report to TxDOT on their projects. That's for the transit project. The FHWA is a little different. That's more directly related to here. But then we do quarterly reports to FTA and just tell them how well the project's doing or not.
Do we have other questions?
Oh, that's okay. And I'll second your motion, Dr. No. I think, so Mike, who's on TPAC?
So the whole membership,
It's the county, the city,
it's basically everyone with the exception of the state delegation,
okay.
including UTEP.
Okay, and so you have conversations at the TPAC level of, does the TPAC know when there's funding available that's left over in this way?
So we do inform everyone, and we do that by way of either through email or having the monthly meetings or through that communication through the established committees. So for example, is that, like it's been mentioned, is that we're getting an influx of money in the relative new fiscal year that's coming in for 18. We weren't anticipating that. So again, is that, I know the question is about, we need to have a process that everybody understands, and it has to be absolute in terms of transparency. So here is that we are simply following a practice that the MPO has always had. The policy board needs to have a flexibility component to ensure that those funds are not lost. So in this case is that it's my understanding that these two agencies submitted projects to the MPO that are shovel-ready. So that became a demonstration to me to say we should move forward and inform TPAC.
And if I could just, and so I completely understand the city's perspective, and that maybe this is a policy that we work on, that we put in place and ask the TPAC to review, so that instead of a practice, maybe we develop an actual policy when there are leftover funds, so that everybody feels like they've had a bite at the apple.
Not just the cities in the past, I think. Any of the cities may have had a project they were hoping to use CMAQ funds for.
Yeah, well, any
And if-
jurisdiction.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Mr. Beely.
I was just going to say that my staff advises me that we will have on the shelf shovel-ready CMAQ-eligible jobs that'll spend any money that you come up with for the next decade or so. So it should simplify this dramatically.
Well, and just to be clear, do we or do we not have a written policy about this particular process? Is there anything that would inform the entities how to proceed in this situation?
So when it comes to certain enabled things that the MPO can do, like a call for projects, there is a written policy. And there's a language in that policy that allows the MPO to make a recommendation. There's 3 elements to that. But when it comes to balances at the end of the year, or when it comes to balances after the policy board adopts an MTP or a TIP, there is no direct provision stating what the MPO should do with those balances.
We should have something.
Well, and I was gonna share too, we had the same discussion, actually, at the TPAC meeting, because we recognize that, because as we do the call, we make a recommendation, we push it forward, to a degree, the call dies. It comes to an end. And so there's no policy or, that I'm aware of, that allows a project that just didn't make it, a bubble project, to come forward then. There's nothing that says that we should look first to that. Because the whole process just comes to a close.
So then, Mike, in this situation here for 17 money, because we had money that we postponed because of the Alameda RTS wasn't ready for this year. So we could have just given you, "Hey, we don't need this Alameda money now, but here's another project that we like to put in," and then that could have been done a year and a half ago.
Right, I would say that it's probable. So the idea here is that, like Greg mentioned, is that, once the call happens, it pretty much ends. And so if we need to have a running mechanism to inform the TPAC and the policy board members of what to do with that, residual, we should do that by way of
Yeah.
policy.
Because and then when we approve the TIP, there's a process of selection in that TIP. So maybe we could add something of, if there's reconciled money or additional money available that wasn't used, we can maybe put in the TIP of that selection process, how we're gonna do it. Whether it's just open to anybody or,
Yeah.
that could be.
I just want to be clear, I wasn't talking, when I said city, because obviously city employees, but I think it's because the reason I asked if it was left over in terms of the ranking process or the evaluation that went through the CMAQ call for project, because I do believe we had other projects, not just from the city, but from other entities that were not awarded on that. And so I think, just to be fair, that everybody's given the opportunity, to resubmit in terms of that. That's the only thing that I think is just in terms of, again, these are great projects. That's not an issue. It's just, I think every entity thinks we have great projects, right? And so that's all.
Understood.
Senator, did you have? No. Any other?
You've done all the talking for the year?
Yeah. Well, so what I'm hearing, and I know Mayor Perea needs more things to do, so maybe this is something that the.
More work?
And here's the thing, I think there needs to be a little bit of a balance from what I'm hearing, because you need some flexibility to be able to move quickly, because the point is you want things to be able to fill these gaps quickly when you're coming to year-end balances. So if we're gonna develop a policy, you need to make sure it's not a rigid policy that's gonna actually hamper our ability to get projects lifted back in. But the fairness and equity about it I think it makes sense. But also, I think it's incumbent upon all of us to be as proactive as we can be to try and push our stuff forward. So if you don't mind, I'll shoot you a message about that later, and something we can develop over the next few months. I think it'd be a smart thing to do. I will give that direction formally. I'm just discussing how I think it's a good idea based on this discussion and some other discussions I've had prior to this meeting. Dr. No, do I have a motion to approve?
We did, and a second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve. I have Judge Escobar seconding that motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion prevails. We move to item 2, please.
Item number 2 is discussion action to approve the recommendation from the Transportation Project Advisory Committee to amend the Horizon 2040 Metropolitan Transportation Plan and the Horizon 2017-2020 Transportation Improvement Program, to amend the New Mexico 273 McNutt Road Construction Project MPOID number P615X CNE 100160 to program an additional $1,100,000 of New Mexico Highway Safety Improvement Program funds due to updated project cost estimate. This brings the total project cost to $11,850,000 consisting of $9,550,000 New Mexico Highway Safety Improvement Program funds, $1,400,000 of New Mexico CMAQ funds, and $900,000 of state road funds in fiscal year 2017. And this is a New Mexico Department of Transportation project.
Nickel, pretty straightforward project. They've got new estimates. It's a little bit more. It's a good project. We recommend it for approval.
All right.
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion
Thank you.
prevails. Is there any other
That's it.
business to be discussed? Okay, a motion to adjourn? All right.
Can I get a refund on my
The time is now, the time is now 9:21 a.m. and this meeting is adjourned.